Hey, good morning. Yes, it is. Up and at 'em, sunshine. Today is Monday, the 17th of November. So, what are we talking about today? Well, I thought we'd talk about one of the hardest lessons that I had to learn, and it didn't come easy, and that is knowing your limits and when to walk away. So, stay tuned. Alrighty, welcome back to the channel. My name is Eric. If you didn't already know it, and yes, this is the weekday, Monday through Friday. Today is Monday, the 17th of November. And what I thought we'd talk about today, and I thought about this over the weekend, and of how much we've grown as a business. And we really started to grow when we understood our limitations and when to say no. See, the way I always looked at it when it came to the repair shop, my job was to get customers in the door, right? Claude's job was to fix customers' machines after I got them through the door. What I didn't take into consideration was Claude's limitations. You know, he's always been an all-star mechanic, so I mean, he could fix anything. But at what cost? Okay? And I've thrown things at him in the past that we're sitting on YouTube trying to figure out how to fix it because we've never encountered it before. And we'd end up losing our asses, to be honest with you, because I couldn't justify all the hours that went into learning how to do something, right? And so we were spending a lot of time not getting paid because we were in the learning phase. And you know what I feel about when it comes to learning on the backs of your customers, it's not right. If you know how to do it and it takes an average mechanic an hour to do it, you can't bill 4 hours because you didn't know how to do it and you're sitting there watching YouTube videos or hand packing it apart, setting things so you know how it goes back together, right? So this went on for years. And Claude was saying, finally he had enough. He said, enough's enough, Eric. Let's get stuff in that we know we can fix. And the stuff that are on the fringes, say no. Because what I found out in the end was the other shops were saying no to it as well. They wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole because they had experienced that situation before. And the parts to do the job were like $20. But nobody said that it was going to take 6 to 7 hours to tear everything apart to do it. I mean, in the prime case is four-wheelers, side-by-sides, like the Massimos and all those. When I took on being a warranty dealership for him, Claude said, don't do it. I don't have skills in that area, and we don't even know how to even start fixing these things. And I said, well, we'll learn as we go. And we did. We learned that was one of the worst decisions I had ever made was to sign on with Massimo. Coleman is the same thing. They come under a bunch of different names, but they're all Chinese knockoffs. But all I looked at was I need to bring work into the shop. I need to keep us busy all the time. And that I took my job to heart. That whatever it took, I was going to get the work in. And that we did. And with the Massimos, they never sent any books. They never did anything. They would sign you up as a warranty shop in a heartbeat. As long as you had a tax number and you were a repair shop, yes, absolutely. But if you wanted any of their training, any of the books on the equipment, any of the above, you had to pay for it. And when it came for the parts, you would think if a faulty injector, fuel injector, was one of the most common things that for me to buy one, it would cost $60 through them, through Massimo. But I could go onto eBay from another Chinese seller and buy 10 of them for $60. So it wasn't even worthwhile to buy the parts from them. And when it came to rectifying an issue, trying to get paid, and I'm thinking right now, I don't think I ever got paid for Massimo. Coleman did, yes. Massimo, they never shelled out a dime. And I'll be honest with you, to this day, they still continue to call and ask us to get back on board with them because there's nobody within a 150-mile radius of us. Not a chance. You burned me once. I'm a pretty quick learner. When I was younger, I'd go back for more. But my age, you don't have to do it too often to me for me to pick up on that. I wasn't born yesterday. But we ran into the same situation. This was another Massimo of where it was supposed to be just a simple replace the head on it and knock it out. And I'll be honest with you, we had two other mechanics that were Massimo mechanics from other shops get in there and try their best, and not any of the three could get it running. That cost me almost $2,000 in parts and labor because I paid the other two shops to try to get it right, and they couldn't get it right. We could all get it to fire up for a minute and then it would quit. You have to know your limitations. You have to be able to know when to say no. The problem develops when you don't have a lot of work and you're looking for any work, right? And that's when these jobs will get you. Is you're saying, well, we got this free time. Let's see if we can't knock this out. Now, a lot of it depends on who your customer is, right? If it's a warranty shop, you're stuck dealing with the manufacturer and hoping like hell that they'll pay you. And like I say, in Massimo's case, they didn't. Coleman, they did. But if it's a customer, you also have to know what their limitations are too. And we've taken on jobs that I thought should have cost less than $100. And by the time we got done with parts and labor, we were $600-700. Yes, I kept the customer informed all the way, but it was still an expensive fix. But they were looking at what would it cost to replace it, and now we're talking thousands of dollars, right? So they were willing to cough up the $600 to $800. The biggest thing that a shop owner can do is understand the limitations of his or her employees. They're not God. They can't do everything. And you shouldn't expect them to do everything. Now, if you're a one-man band, it's on you, beat yourself up. But when it comes to Claude, I know his limitations now. And I know when not to push the envelope of where I'm willing to take it on. Because I'm not a total screw up, but, I can... Give me a book, I'll read it, and I'll see what I can do to do it the way the book says. But even those projects are few and far between that I'm willing to take on because I have to look at what is the time involved and what is my customer willing to pay. Any job, anything is fixable. It's just how much money and time you want to throw at it. And certain times you really have to just simply say, no, we can't do it. I'm sorry, I'd like to be able to, but I already know what the issues are going to be and what you're looking at down the road for cost, and I can't justify it. And I'm not willing to work for free, basically. You're being honest. Now, if the customer says, I'm willing to pay, and you sit down and have a talk with your mechanic, and between the two of you come up and say, okay, let's take it on. Claude has gotten so he tells the customers, look, I will try to do it for you, but there's no guarantees. It's a threshold warranty. The minute you get in it and drive it off this property, it's not my problem. I will see if I can't get it to last longer so you can either pedal it or what have you, but that's it. I'm not warrantying it. And the customers are fine as long as you're straight up with them. It's when you say, yeah, I can fix it, and you bring it into the shop $700 later, and the customer takes it home, and 2 weeks later, it goes to hell. Where are they coming? They're coming back to us. You have to take on each job and know your limitations of what you can and can't do. And then along those same lines are what are the money makers and what are the money grabbers, the ones that take you more time than what it should, and the profit just isn't there. Now, if you, like with us, we're working on tractors right now, and then we fill in, we've had a couple four-wheelers in, we've had some Tractor Supply zero turns come in and out, turn and burn, wood splitter, but right now our main focus is on tractors. And what we do is we'll start working on one tractor, get it tore down, get the parts ordered. And if the money-making jobs, which are the Tractor Supply stuff, the customer's log splitter that wouldn't work, won't work, well, I got running, the four-wheelers that needed a new winch on one, a fuel system leak on the other, those will jump on and get it done because those will get us money in the short term for that week. Where a tractor may be tore down in my shop for a month before we get paid. Claude gets paid, but before the shop gets paid, sometimes it's a month. And granted that the bills for that month are quite a bit bigger on a tractor than they are on a lawnmower or a four-wheeler. The money is in the quick turnaround stuff, that simple repairs. And when I say simple, that winch, if we'd have done it right on that one four-wheeler, gone with my gut to Tractor Supply and bought the winch, we would have had it installed the first time and out the door. But like you say, Amos, when you try to save money, you end up costing you more money and time. And it did. But you can either be a sad sack or you can chalk it up to a learning lesson of, let's not play that game again. I'm going to go with my gut from now on. And that's the way it is, right? Your customer will respect you more too with your honesty. I was thinking about this the other day. Is we had a customer come in and she was complaining that we had charged her twice for a part that she had got from us. And I didn't recognize her. So I asked, did you deal with me? And she said, no, it was the other fella. So I'm thinking Claude, but Claude doesn't do billing. Claude doesn't do part sales because he doesn't know what the stuff costs. So maybe he did double bill her. I don't know. But how did he print out a receipt? So finally, we're going back and forth with her. I looked. I said, let me see the bill. So I looked, and it wasn't even our shop. It was one of the other shops in town. And I said, ma'am, this isn't even us. This is the other shop in town. She said, I know. I went to them, and they said there was nothing they could do about it. I said, really? She goes, yep. The part originally was $8 and some cents, okay? So they charged her $16, and she says she only got one part. What did I do? I give her the $8 back. And not because it was on us, because it wasn't. It was another shop. It was because I wanted to make sure that she felt whole again. And if $8 was going to do that, then we would go that route. That was around 9, 10 years ago. And what did that $8 do for me? It gave me a loyal customer for the past 8 years. All the work that she needs done on her lawn and garden stuff, the snowblower, comes here. All over $8. That shop, the other shop, lost a valued customer because they were unwilling to just simply give her $8. She didn't feel whole. And that's what you're going to have to look at in business when you're dealing with customers is sometimes you just have to say, okay, let's see how we can make you whole again. You know, whether it be a bill that just, I'm trying to think of the word, stone rolled or whatever, and it became this crazy bill. You know, do you charge the customer this crazy bill or do you give them a break? And most often the case is I'll show them what the actual bill is, but this is what I took off to kind of help you out. And customers respond to that. Don't make a crazy bill with inflated numbers and then tell them they're getting a discount. Don't do that. It's got to be your actual time on it. In the comments, where have you run into this of where you had to put a kind of a thing on your limitations on what the shop could do? And I can tell you right off the bat, the top ones in our shop now are any ATV, UTV engines. If it's internal, we don't touch it. We don't. If it's lawn and garden with the engines, we will touch it as long as the customer is willing to pay for it. But most often we can just do an engine swap and go with a different brand, like a Predator versus, a Kohler. Cheaper than we could rebuild the one that's there, depending on what the issue is. There's a lot to it. If you're in that field, everything from if you lack compression, it could be the valves, could be the rings, could be the crank seal. I mean, there's so many things you can look at before you scrap an engine. But that comes with knowledge. That comes with know-how. And that comes also with the tools to be able to do that, like a leak down test. I'm curious to know where are your limitations and where do you just, make the cross and Hail Marys and shoot them out the door. On that note, you guys have a great Monday, and we'll catch you here bright and early tomorrow morning for another episode of The Weekday. Again, thanks so much for watching and supporting this channel. I know some crazy old coot sitting here talking. I don't know why I even have one person viewing it, but I'm very appreciative that I have you. So on that note, enjoy.